G'day, mate, and how the bloody hell are you? Welcome to In the Back of My Head podcast, episode 69. It's a weekly creative journal podcast where I talk about creativity, whatever I'm working on, whatever's rattling in the back of my head. Try and make some goddamn sense of it. Try and get my thoughts in a row. And if it helps you in any way, it provides clarity, if it provides inspiration, motivation, or if you're just like kind of chilling out and need a voice in your ear, well, fucking fantastic. I'm bloody pleased about it. Okay, this is take fucking 4 of this goddamn podcast. Last episode was a bloody doozy, a big one. Last one was recording last one was a lot of research. Last one was a full script. Last one was pretty crazy. Last one was a big rabbit hole. The reason I actually finished, I didn't intend to release that one last week. I intended to actually release this one, but I tried recording it twice and I kept getting like 13 minutes in. I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And so then I moved on to I'll just finish this one. It's huge, but at least I know what I'm doing. And then today, I was like, I'll just fucking, I'll get this done and move on to the next thing. And I recorded this without recording the microphone. So here we go, take 4, baby. Oh Christ on a bendy bus. A couple of weeks ago, I saw the results of a decision that I made a little while back. So, a couple of months ago now, my little creative collective, and you know this, I've talked about it already, but my little creative collective, we've taken a break. We're on a little hiatus. We're coming back. In fact, we've got a gig in a couple of weeks, but it's pretty hands-off, really. We're taking a break from running regular events at the moment. We're currently looking for a new venue for our poetry night. I'm looking forward to that return, but it's all kind of on the back burner until the stars align. And when I announced that we're going to take a break, the absolute legend Matt from Tricolor Studios, who is the videographer who was videoing tones and editing tones for the past 2 seasons for us, which is our version of Tiny Desk, he said, "Oh mate, you taking a break? Can I just run tones without you?" I said, and I was like, give me a day to think about it. And I came back after that day and said, mate, you have my blessing. It'd be a bloody pleasure to hand this over to you. And off the top, I'll say I'm glad I did. I'm glad we did. Because Tones is not just mine. Tones is a collaborative process. It's a whole team behind it. Yeah? It takes a lot of hands to get that thing up and running, finished, and onto the internet. And in taking a break, what is Tones? Let's first of all, Tones is an idea that I've wanted to run with since I was about 17. So it's actually a really weird thing to let go of. Because when I was 17, 18, I had my own version of Vibe Union, but in my hometown, called The Forest. We lived on Forest Street. And so we ran a little creative collective, me and my mates, called The Forest. And basically it was the same thing. We were making little videos and we were promoting events. We were running events under that name. The Forest Presents, Vibe Union Presents. It was just there to give me a little platform to put on some cool shit. It's all it was. It's all it wanted to be. It's all it remained. And then when I left Melbourne, when I left Castlemaine to move to Melbourne, I was like, I don't want to run events anymore. Fuck that shit. And so I stopped. But at that time, we were doing a very similar thing. We were like, hey, let's make some little videos of people performing music live, just in our bedroom. We'll do it up kind of nicely. It wasn't that nice, but nonetheless, we put it up on YouTube. And in my head, I was like, I just want to do our version of Tiny Desk representing some Castlemaine artists. And that's what Tones wants to be. It's just a platform to realise and platform local Melbourne bands and artists and what have you. It's all it wanted to be, and it's kind of all it was. But it's a thing that I've wanted to do since I was bloody 17. It's a thing I've wanted to do forever. And I did it. Actually, I did it. That's the thing. I had the idea and I did it. But then, given the time frame of the original idea and the projects that came out of it, obviously there's some ego attached. There's some ego attached to it. Part of your brain says, hey, that's mine. Don't you you get your grubby little mitts off it, that's mine, mate. I made that, I built that. Yes, it was with lots of other people, but I was the beating heart. Get your hands off me. Get your hands off my little project. To be the beating heart of a project. To be the beating heart of a project when it's just your project, that's one thing. It can be very tiring. It can be very tiring when you're trying to find motivation to put out work or to finish a project that is just yours. Are you making a YouTube video? Are you doing an oil painting? You writing some prose? What are you doing? You building a gazebo? That was a weird place with a little stutter, a little gazebo. It's a fun word to add an extra G onto. If it's just for you, then it's easy. But it's also taxing in a sense of like, yeah, you know, I'm not that motivated today, so the thing's not going to exist. But then, no one gives a shit. No one gives a fuck, mate. If it's just yours, no one gives a shit. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it doesn't happen. No one's gonna remember. For 90% of what we do, no one's gonna remember. If we said, even if we tell people, even if we're at a party and say, guys, I'm building a gazebo, they'd be like, oh, cool, man, sweet. If you never finish that gazebo, maybe one or two people will be like, hey, what happened with that gazebo? You'd be like, oh, I haven't been that motivated to build it. And they're like, oh, that's cool, man. That's always the reaction. That's always the reaction when you say, I haven't really done it. I know I said I was gonna do it, but I haven't done it. Then everyone's gonna be like, yeah, sweet, don't worry about it. It's totally fine. We've actually got our own stuff on. Your gazebo was at the lowest rung of our mental capacity. We're thinking about other things, man. I'm paying bills. I'm buying bread. Taking the kids to school. Taking the cat for a walk down at Merry Creek to tease it with the birds and say, you're never gonna get them, mate. Stupid fucking idea. What am I talking about? But when the project is other people, when it involves other people, and when it's for other people, because it's easy to attach your ego, and perhaps it's almost necessary to attach your ego to the solo projects. If you're writing a little EP of music, then yeah, your soul is on show. Everything that we create, everything that we put out there is part of our soul. Have a little look at this. Have a little look at this representation of just part of my soul. And so when people have a look at it, then yeah, you feel exposed, you feel vulnerable, but that's also the point. You try and communicate with the world, you're putting it out there into the universe. But something like tone, something like running events, something like running events is not for you, mate. It's not for you, it's not about you. I've seen people run events where it's about them. Not everyone realizes that they're doing that. I've run events with people where I'm just like, yeah, I'll help you do the thing. And I see them really... Yeah, I've seen it over many years. It's an easy thing to do. But running events for other people, well, running events in general is for other people, and especially something where you are platforming other creatives, then you take a back seat. You have to take a back seat. And to attach your ego to that gig, you should take pride in running the event. That's very important. You should take pride in running the event. And I had a lot of pride in Tones, the way it looked, the way it sounded, the way it was presented, it all came together so bloody beautifully. The team behind it, the way we all worked together was fucking awesome. And I had some semblance of ego attachment to that project because I had wanted to do this thing for a long time. However, at the end of the day, it's not about me in the slightest. It's not about Vibe Union. I had part of my brain wanted to run Tones and has wanted to run other gigs. I'm looking at other things on my wall, like Project Legacy, a little hip-hop night that ran at 30 Dirk. Part of it was a lot of fun. Part of it was I did want to platform. There was some artists that I was like, I really want to platform these people. But then also part of it was like, I want to work at 30 Dirk. I want a flagship hip-hop night that we run. That would be cool. And then when it came to the end of it, I was like, yeah, you know what? I haven't really got the drive that this gig needs. And Tones was like that as well. I liked the idea of Tones being a bit of a flagship for us, which is the wrong attitude towards it, I think. The person that we gave it to, Matt from Tricolor, when he asked if he could take it, I was like, oh yeah, a little bit hesitant. And then when we actually agreed to hand over the reins, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. This dude seems like genuinely excited to video local artists, local bands, and just platform them. That seems like the core drive behind this thing. And so to give that over to someone like that, that's what it needs. To be the beating soul of a project like that, and then lose that fire, because I was very excited for Tones at the start, as with many other projects, very excited about it at the start. You are the beating heart, you are the fire at the core of it, and a project like that needs someone to be that, because the team can't really do it. It's hard to get an entire team inspired on the same fucking page as one another and just like all driving forward at the same time. You see it in bands all the time. A band needs, it's like usually the core songwriter or what have you. I've spoken a bit about this before. If anyone's ever like kind of being really romantic about a creative project like that, they're like, yeah, we're all in at 110%. Nah, mate. Maybe possible, so incredibly rare, in my opinion. You have to have a beating heart. You have to have the captain, but more than the one leading, I think you need the person emotionally pushing, providing the energy. And yeah, realizing that I don't have that for Tones, and then feeling quite comfortable relinquishing control was actually really nice. And it made me really happy, made me really kind of proud of the project itself again. I was like, hell yeah, I love this project. I love Tones. So please take it from me. Because I haven't got it anymore, man. I think you can do a better job with it. So fucking Godspeed, mate. Godspeed. Yeah, you gotta attach your ego to shit. But you also really need to realize when it's not about you, mate. It's not about you. Whereas something like our poetry night makes me so goddamn happy. I'm looking forward to that returning. Once a venue presents itself to us and we can run, fucking sweet. But yeah, that space. Something about poetry, something about that space is just, it lends itself to people getting to overcome a lot of anxiety. It's a place where people learn about humanity. It's a people where people connect, come out of their shells, gain confidence. Oh! And I'm so fucking happy every time I'm there, just having a pint, watching people read poetry. I'm like, this is fucking sweet. Love this shit. It's kind of easy to be part of the beating heart. Thankfully, there's two chambers. There's me and Jason, the two chambers of the heart of chaotic musings. I think we're both good at that. I think we're both good at kind of looking at each other and going, do you actually give a shit about this? And go, nah, not really. And so we move on to the next thing. But it's good to recognize when you don't really give a shit and just, you know what? If I don't care, then fuck it. Give it to someone who does. That idea of like attaching your ego to a project. I was thinking that like, was that a struggle? Was like, do I need to prepare to hand over something that I've built to somebody else? And I thought, actually, you know what? No, not really. Because I've spent my entire creative existence since I was a teenager doing just that, but only with my own projects. I think the fact that I can move on from project to project in one sense is a lack of focus. On the other hand, I usually finish projects. I don't really sit on much. There's not a lot sitting on my computer that hasn't seen the light of day. That's always been the case. I think because I'm not a perfectionist in any sense. I have a desire to make good stuff, high quality fucking products, but then at the same time I definitely recognize, and I feel very fortunate that I actually feel this way. It was funny because like on a bad day I'll say, I'm a piece of shit and I don't make anything that's good. I say that every second day. Every second day is me feeling like I've never once made a good piece of art. And I don't have the capacity to do so. And then every second day, like today, I feel more closer to the idea that I know what I'm capable of, and so I know when it's time to just call it. I know when it's time to finish that project, call that project finished, not finish that project, call that project finished, and just move on to the next thing. I'll get better for the next one, which, you know, has its downsides. But I'm not a perfectionist in the sense of like I'm waiting to be brilliant to make this project a reality. Be that an album, be that a drawing, be that a gig. It doesn't need to be perfect. And I'm happy to relinquish control of it. And relinquishing control, I think, is just putting it out, just being done with it. You know what? I'm done with this, moving on to the next thing. So there it is, done, move on. And then in the case of an event, recognizing not so much, in that particular case, it's not so much that I don't have the skill set required to do this, but I don't have the emotional drive to do this. This taps into actually the music that I'm gonna, after I record this, I'm gonna be scheduling some singles to be released. And I'm really battling with that as well. I have the skill set, I talked about this last week, no, the week before, about music promotion. When you don't have the skill set to do it is one thing, but also when you don't have the emotional capacity to do the thing, well, then perhaps it's just time to move on to the next thing, mate. Maybe it's just this particular project. And so there's a really big part of me that just wants to just drop music and move the fuck on. I'm going to give this one a little bit more time of day, again, because there's others involved. Because it's not just me for this one. There is a band behind it, so I have to do that. And I'm hoping that the excitement will return as we get closer to those releases. But I think perfectionists, on one hand, can make some of the best work possible. And on the other hand, their ego is so tied to individual projects that if it fails, it might kill them. And they also are more than likely holding it back, not because the quality of the project is not to scratch, but because they don't feel happy with themselves. Their ego is terrified of what this project means to it, rather than what it can mean to the project. Oh! That's a bar. That's not too bad. What does this project mean to your ego? And what can your ego do for the project? And if you realize that your ego hasn't got the capacity to push this project forward, then move on from that project. And if this project is becoming the entire existence of your ego, then also, maybe, time to let go of that project, or time to rein in your ego. So I felt pretty good about it. I felt pretty good about relinquishing control of this event. And part of me wishes I would put more time, and I would like to try and continue. I would like to continue to try to put more time and effort into each individual project to make them better. Be a little bit more of a perfectionist. But at the same time, I am also very thrilled that my ego doesn't seem to be too attached to each individual project. So much that it would cripple it. And will cripple my output. So moral of the story, as with almost every episode, is get the fuck out of your own way, mate. Get the fuck out of your own way. And get the fuck out of the way of the project. That's where I'm going to wrap it up. It's not the longest episode. I can't really, I feel like I just blacked out. I can't really remember what I just talked about. I hope that was good. I hope some of that was fun. I hope some of that helped you with some stuff. Be it relinquishing control of a project for your own sake, for others' sake, for the project's sake, what have you. Keep making cool shit, mate. Just keep making cool shit. At the end of our lives, I hope we all look back and go, I drank some nice wine, I hung out with mates, and I made cool shit. That was a bloody good time. The world is chaos. The world is fucked. It's always a bit fucked, though. The world's always a bit fucked. The world's particularly chaotic at the moment. Keep fighting for a better world and keep making dope shit. Alright. I never know where the fuck any of this is going. Be well, mate. I'll speak to you next week.